So you guys seem to love the kit aquariums, like all-in-one kits, the filter, the tank, the lights, all for one price in a box. And of course you do, who doesn't like value for money? But it's only decent if you're getting a good kit. Now I've currently got lots of Superfish all-in-one kits in the studio. This one here is the Quadro. I set this up a long time ago, runs itself, looks great. That's a recurring theme. I've got the shell dweller tank, you can see some of the fish there just at the top. Works perfect, that's a scaper style one. I've got the smaller Quadro, which is basically just an underwater nature reserve. Looks so good. We got 3 scaper 140s here, all looking immense, doing so well, growing plants like you wouldn't believe. And the most recent one is this scaper cube, which I've done nothing since setting it up apart from top the water up and just trimmed a little bit of the background plants. That is doing so well. We've got shrimp in here as well. They are like starting to breed. I've seen some tiny, tiny babies because I did put in a good amount to get that sort of going. And it is working so well. The tank looks amazing. Look at that. All in one kit. So nice. The point is Superfish make great tanks. That is why I collaborate with them. And that is why I use them. And that leads me on nicely to one that I've not done yet. This is the Panorama 35 LED. And what's different about it is it's got like the curved edge, hence sort of panorama, I guess. So we've got a top filter with crystal clear cartridge, safe, waterproof, 6-watt LED lighting, aquarium background poster, which we won't be using. Instructions on how to install everything on this side, stuff that I should probably read on the back, pause, and a lovely design that someone's come up with. But we're not doing it like that. Well, I suppose I should get everything out. Come on, come on, suction. There we go. Nothing in there. Okay, so we've got a lid, a small light, filter cartridge, pump and plug, and instructions. So it looks like the background just sort of unslots. Now, I think the background's decent for someone who's not wanting to do anything crazy, but you know me, I like to do my own thing. So that's coming off, and I'm gonna paint it black. Yeah, it's like a sticker on the edges. Sorry, Superfish. A little bit of glue down the side, I'll just use a blade on that. Oh no, it's actually just tape, so you can easily remove it. Now, because we're painting the glass, I want to clean it first. Now, the plastic rims don't actually come off, so I just need to mask those up. Not that it matters, because it's the back anyway, but why not? Then I've got a small roller, and I'll get some black masonry paint. Where is it, actually? I think it's in here. Yes, there it is. And then it's just a case of slapping it on, drying it, and then slapping it on again. I've got like a fluffy roller here. Really, you want the sort of foamy one, but it's what I've got, so that's what I'm going with. I can't be bothered to go out and buy any more. Once you get a few layers down, it makes no difference anyway. The finish will be completely flat. And the good thing about this paint is that if you do ever want to take it off, you just take a blade to it, it just comes off so easy. Yeah, look, I'll show you in a second. There's the front. Oh no, there's paint on it. And seeing as I can't wait for anything, I'll now dry the layer with a hot air gun, that's it, or a hairdryer, whatever you've got, and then just keep putting layers on until it's completely black. So if you are going to paint the back like that, make sure that whatever you use, like this is a proper heat gun, and a hairdryer is more than adequate. This is overkill if I'm honest. And I'm staying this far back. I'm just heating the glass. I'm not like blasting it. So the whole time you might have seen me, I keep touching the glass at the back to see if it's hot. It should be just slightly warm to the touch, and that's just enough. You don't want to weaken the silicone or anything like that. But yeah, I sort of stand back here, just, you know, flicking it over, and it's worked fine. But this is how easy it comes off though. So look, all on the front, dry. Take a blade. Oh, that's wet. Don't want it wet. Then you just do that. Doesn't scratch your glass because you just keep it flat against it. And we're all clean. I should probably clean up before we move on. I've been filming for like 2 seconds and there's stuff everywhere. Right, I've dripped it down the front a little bit. I was a bit heavy with the paintbrush. But it doesn't matter because the substrate will come above that level anyway, otherwise it would look a bit rough. Right, it's probably time to put the rest of it together. Okay, and this is what happens when you don't read the instructions. I've got the light and I'm thinking, where does it go? I must attach to the lid, but of course it can't because then the filter will be in the way, so it has to go under the filter. Lo and behold, it goes under the filter. So you can just move all of the bits out and then it just slots in. Put the bits on top, which doesn't matter to the light because the light's completely waterproof. And in actual fact, I've still done it wrong. This is not complicated, by the way, it's just me being stupid. So if you put the cable in first, there's a little notch there I can see. There we go. And then you can pass the end of the light up in this hole. That keeps it nice and tidy. There's also a slot here as well for a heater if you want or need one. I don't because I heat the room, but if you've got like tropical fish, then you would need one. Back in the top. We're ready to go. Then the lid can go on, which looks like it sort of unclips out. There we go. 2 sides. Nice. So obviously everyone... Oh. No, I didn't use the instructions. So obviously everyone knows I'm a fan of rimless tanks, but not everyone is. So this is a good option because I think it looks really smart. It's compact, it's smooth looking, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's quite sort of contemporary and very clean lines, clean top. Obviously you've got a hole there to be able to feed in. But yeah, I'm interested to know how powerful the light is because that will determine what the planting scheme would be. I should also point out that this is a really, really affordable aquarium as well. So this is £70 or like $90. Not that you can get it in America because Superfish don't ship there yet. But yeah, you can get it in Europe as well. So what's that, about 70 euros? For this whole thing, the whole kit, what a great starting price, you know? Giving people the opportunity to just jump in the hobby and not have to spend a crazy amount. Because I guarantee if you do well in this tank, then you're gonna progress and move on, aren't you? So let's take a look at how good the light is. So it's quite a cool light, like cool colouring. It's got, and let me adjust so you can see. It's got 6 blue LEDs and 12 white LEDs. And sometimes these things can look a bit weird when there's no plants in that. So, you know, I'm not going to change anything yet, but if I need to, I can block out some of the blues to make it more of a white colour, but we'll see how we go. To start with, to escape the tank, I'm not using this light because obviously I need to take everything out to be able to get into it, which is fine when you're at home, but when I'm trying to make a production for you guys, it's not great. So I've got another light that I'll just put over the top just whilst I'm scaping. I've actually got a spare scaper light, which will work very well for this job. There we go, that will work perfect for now. Before we do anything though, we do need a standard substrate system, my standard anyway. So we have got some NutriBase. Everyone knows that I love this stuff. It works so well. NutriBase from Colombo. It's got like dormant bacteria and everything like that in it, and it's full of nutrients as well. It's got cafe, mug and leaf. And then to bump it up even more, I like to put in some aquatic pond soil. Not a necessity, but if you can find it, you know, it all helps. To be honest, you could do this whole thing with just pure sand. Like that's the cheapest way of doing it. But it's also the hardest because you don't get an easy start. The roots take a lot longer to find nutrients, which means you don't get the growth initially, which means there's more chance of algae. So I do all of these things that you're seeing just to improve the chances of the aquarium just taking off straight away, minimizing algae and just making it all a lot easier. In this one, it's just some sand, like some old sand from another setup. So I just use that to bulk it up a little bit. And I'm basically gonna put equal parts of sand, soil, and NutriBase into the tank. 1, 1, 1. There's the soil. There's the sand. I will want more than that, so I'm going to do 2 scoops of each. Actually, 1.5. I'm doing circles around the aquarium. And then just mix it all together. Any clumps in the soil, break them up. Now, one of the reasons I like to use the soil is because it contains organic matter. And when that organic matter breaks down, it creates its own CO2, sort of as it rots, if you like. So any CO2 in the tank is good CO2. I'm not going to inject any, but if I can try and find a way of creating it, you know, without having to do anything other than just add it in now, I'm going to do it. And this is quite a tall tank, so I want to create height at the back. That's why I've put like a decent amount of this in. Only a little bit in the foreground, and then have it all banked up. It makes it look deeper as well, which is another bonus. But it also means then when I put my plants in, they're already going to be at a certain height at the back. That's if I use any background plants. I might not, to be honest. I might go for something crazy simple for this one that everyone can have a go at, but will look so good for the fish that I've got in mind. And now's a really good time to just wet everything down, get it saturated. Helps to get out any sort of trapped air pockets and things like that. So now what we want to do is cap all of that down. We don't want all those nutrients leaking into water column, and for that I'm going to use a lighter sand, just because the original light, not this one, obviously we're using this one to be able to see what we're doing, but the original light isn't massively powerful, which is probably a good thing for beginners, because otherwise it would just be an algae fest. But if I use a white sand, it will sort of bounce back the light and make it brighter than it actually is, and that'll help us. There we go. There's a real simple but effective start there. You can plant anything in that now and it will grow. But I assume people are watching the channel because they like planted tanks and nature aquariums. So I think we should go for like the most simple nature aquarium you can do, which is basically a retaining wall of rocks, some upright sticks, some ferns, little bits of anubias, and some stems behind it. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated, but that always looks beautiful. And Cereus stone, which is the most common stone in the hobby, it's like global, is the best to do it with. It just works so well. The grey against the sand, and then some like decorative scatter gravel just in front of it. It works well. And I think it's just the sort of thing that people looking to buy this tank would possibly like to do. So we want to start off with just a few rocks, get a decent size, because like I said, it's quite, that's too big. That's way too big. Probably have to rethink this. That's more like the size that we could go for. So just placing one in the middle. I need more now. In fact, I want to bring this forwards a little bit because that's quite a lot of foreground. Then I've got some other stones. They're not all matching colours and things because I don't really care about stuff like that. I just like it to look cool. And it's just a case of just building up the layer as you go. Don't have to think too hard about it, but just don't make it all exact straight lines. See how I've come out here, I've gone back, come forward again. This is quite a nice piece because it's got that straight edge, so I can use that up against the glass, and then that stops anything coming forwards. Maybe a little outcrop as well. Another one down here. Then I think I'd like to raise this area up so we can use those other rocks in front just to sort of pin it back. Now you've got options. Some people like to keep it quite flat like that, go high on the wood and then just plant all around it. But I feel like we want one little area here that's higher than the rest, and it just keeps it looking less flat. I think this piece will work well. Or is it a bit too big? I think that's probably too big. How about if I manoeuvre it different? Maybe take this one out, place it in the gap. Does that work? I think that does work. I think that's way more interesting. Yeah, I like that. Looks like a sort of much more natural formation. And we can take another couple of smaller bits as well for some extra outcrops. Just ties in the foreground and the background a little bit better. Don't like that bit, it's too flat. Turn it round. Being picky here, but why not? Yeah, that looks great. Now we can add some wood to it. Now in a tank like this, I think prongy upright would work well. I just stuck these two pieces in. They're not stuck, but they're just resting on top of the rocks. I think that works quite well. A few more though, a few more like smaller details, I think, because yeah, I mean, you don't want to overthink it too much because there's going to be a lot of plants anyway. Well, decent, not a lot, you know, a few pots worth, which in this size tank takes up a lot of space. I like this bit here because it creeps right forwards and can go in that gap. Kind of looks like a spider coming out of the forest, doesn't it? That's cool. Yeah, I like that. This one's fallen down slightly. I think that angle would be good, but I need to prop it up in some way or just glue it like that. What I also need to do is make sure that it fits, you know, with the filter in. So I've put the filter in place. It's a little bit too high, so I can adjust that. I can either cut a bit off the end or sort of angle it a bit differently. Yeah, there we go. I snapped a bit off and now it all fits fine. I do need to sort that, don't I? So I've got this stone. I'm going to try and sort of wedge it. Okay, that works. That's quite cool. Still plenty of room for planting. Still some interest upwards. Still something for us to attach plants to. That's the main thing I want it for, especially in this corner. It's going to be a big fern, I think, that side and the other side, and then like a root through the middle where you can see. I'm not entirely sure yet. I might just fern the whole thing. But this wood will float, so I have to glue it to the rocks. And for that, I used a super glue gel. This is like a gel type, so it doesn't just drip everywhere. And, you know, you can wait a good sort of, I don't know, an hour or 2 hours for it to actually set. It still won't be fully sort of set, the gel, for like 24 hours. Or I like to accelerate it with this thing. I'll put links for this. It just basically makes it set instantly all the way through. Some people have said just spray it with water. Well, that actually only cures the outside sort of skin of it. Inside is still gooey, whereas this stuff just penetrates and just, yeah, it's all good for fish, and I've used it so many times. And as always, just pick some contact points, squirt it in, and it should hold it. This is very light wood, so a couple of these little nodules everywhere, and that'll just work. Quick squirt to set it. That's already sort of stuck, so perfect. And it's as simple as that. Right now we can make it come alive with some plants. I'm not gonna go crazy, it is a small tank, but I want it to look luscious. I do though want to see some detail in the foreground section. So I've got some Rio Shingu stones here, just a little bit of a touch. It goes really well with Sirius stone, and I'm not talking a lot at all. Just spreading it all in the sort of back cracks. I'll leave that in. A slip of the tongue with a back crack. Bit down this side as well. Tiny touch at the front there. That's enough. No, it's not, because that bit's going to annoy me. There we go. So for the plants, here's what I'm going to go with. We have got 6 pots, sorry. All of them are from Aquafleur. You guys know I only use the Aquafleur plants because they look this good. So we've got Limnophilia here because it's so fast growing and doesn't require highlighting. Bulbitus because it's great texture that goes along with 2 Microsorum terapus, which is Java fern. And then for detail dotted about, we've got Hydrocotyle tripetita, which is also known as Hydrocotyle Japan. And then for a fast-growing stem that can be trimmed and replanted quickly, also a different texture and larger leaf, Hygrophila polysperma. So those plants I think will work really well in this simple scape. They're also ones that pretty much everyone can get hold of as well. I tend to like to start with the ferns first, and I'm going to go with the biggest one right here in that section. I'm just pushing it into a gap in the rocks. Should sit nicely. Yeah, I like that. That looks cool. I like the way the leaves are coming forward as well, but they will lift up in the water, but they will be coming more forward. Oh yeah, I should also note it's very easy to prepare the plants. You have a rock wall attached to the rhizome, and you can literally just rip it off. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit left on it, but get off as much as you can. Then you can pretty much just place that anywhere you want in the tank. Take off any leaves that have come loose. Look how good that looks though. I want another one on this side. Stick it in this corner, and then we've got that nice gap in the middle. That should stay locked on there. Now I'm going to split the Bulbitus into 2 because I don't need a huge amount of it, considering the amount of fernage we've already got in there. So there's a smaller one, and it's literally just a case of snapping the rhizome, and it will continue to grow fine. I'll put one down here, right in that gap. I think that'll work well. Oh, there you go. Look how good that looks. And then I want one under here as well, just covering up the root parts of the Java fern, just make it look a bit more appealing, a little bit more sort of naturally grown in. Looking very good. And now we've got that pathway in the middle, or sort of, not a pathway, but like a nice gap, like a hint to the back. And that's where we can start putting all of our stems in. I'm just going to put some on one side and some on the other. Eventually they'll merge and you can replant, and it'll just look like one thick, cool wall of green. Nice. nice, real sort of jungly vibe. It's got depth to it, even though it's only sort of a shallow tank depth-wise. A little bit of detail now in amongst these rocks in the foreground with a bit of a finer texture. The Hydrocotyle tripartita. Looking good. Right, nothing left to do but fill it up and get the filter on. Awesome, look at that. All the air bubbles coming up is because the plants have been in oxygen in the atmosphere, and now they're underwater. They're just producing oxygen incredibly fast. So there's no CO2 in it or anything like that. It's just what happens when you first put plants underwater. But let's get the filter on now and the actual light that's supposed to be for the tank. Right, there we go. First thing to note, it's a different sort of colouring to the scaper light. Now obviously the tank isn't fully designed for planted tank enthusiasts like most of us, but it's still a cool vibe. Quite like it, it's quite moody. And the filter, that is actually quite genius. I'm quite impressed with that. Keeps everything out of the tank. Easy as pie to clean as well. You just lift this up and turn it, pull out all that stuff, clean it and put it back in again. So I'm really impressed with that design. But me being the planted tank snob I am, I feel like I would want more of a, sunlight sort of colour, more of a warmer light tone than the one that's currently in there. I mean, some of you guys might think that, you might like this. This might be your vibe. But if you were interested in changing to the light that I was using originally, the scaper light, it is very, very affordable. So obviously you couldn't use, obviously, these are just the clips that go on the edge of the lid. Obviously, you couldn't use the lid with it because it overhangs like that. So it's got these little sliders on the edge, you see. So quite neatly just keeps it in place, locks it there, keeps it safe. Wire goes on the back, and on it goes. And a few of the reasons why I like the scaper light is its affordability, because it really doesn't cost a lot, and it always looks sort of stylish. And even though it overhangs at the edge there, I think that suits the vibe of the tank completely and would look awesome in, say, like a kitchen area or dining room, something like that. It just works. So yeah, it's the Scaper LED 64 is the one I'm using, but of course there is room inside. Because of the ledges that you've got this side and this side, I'm sure there's lights that you could put across there and then still use the lid. I mean, it's all about what you want to do, really. And that is, of course, half the fun in the hobby. Like when I started, nothing I had sort of matched, and I had to sort of adapt and make it work. And yeah, if you're fussy about colouring, then you can change to put whatever you want. You can even get those ones that clip on the back lip and sort of overhang as well. So yeah, there's plenty of options if you really like the tank design but want to upgrade the light. Because usually I'd just say, we'll just get a different tank, get a rimless one with that one on the top. But this style of tank with the curved edges and that, I think it looks really good. So yeah, if you're unfamiliar to the hobby, start off with it just as standard and give it a go. It will definitely still grow the plants because everything we've got in there is like really easy growing. I mean, I could grow those plants in a bucket of water on the floor. So any light is good light. Get it going, enjoy it. And if you want to later on upgrade to a different lighting, no problem at all. I mean, that's how everyone sort of starts off in the hobby, isn't it really? Right, I think I'm pleased to say that we can put in the fish for this tank. And what better fish than a better fish? So basically the flow from the tank comes down the middle section and it's really, really steady, which means it's not pushing water everywhere. And better fish really like that. I've also dimmed the light slightly because you can buy a little dimmer adapter for these lights. Brought it down a touch because, again, betters don't like really bright light. There's also the option of adding in some floating plants if I want to as well. But yeah, what better are we going to put in? So these are my Nano cubes. They're all doing really well, except this one, and I've got no idea why. It's like an algae fest. I've cleaned it out once already, it's come back. The tank needs treating, basically. It needs cleaning out and restarting. There's something in there that's just horrid. But the Betta fish is absolutely lovely. I've used him in a setup previously, but I didn't keep that setup for long because I didn't actually have a place to put it, but now I do. Yeah, I've recently been repurposing this lower section of the racking system here for smaller tanks, and I think it'll be really nice to put it next to it. I can shift these up a little bit and make it look a bit better, but that's where I would put it. I didn't put the last one here because I didn't think about it at the time, but yeah, it's a really good option, a Nano shelf. Okay, let's get our little buddy out. Hopefully he's easy to catch. He was. Calm down, calm. Don't want to get any of that nasty algae in our new tank. Yeah, we're all clear. Right, let's put the little guy in. Come on, buddy. You can swim down. Oh, he looks so good in there. His red just pops. That's why I didn't put any red plants in, because I just wanted him to be like the main focus. Now, obviously, this is an absolutely brand new tank with no cycled media in it. So essentially, there's no beneficial bacteria either. And that is why I'll now add in the beneficial bacteria. So what this does is it starts to colonize the tank, seeds the tank, and I'm adding it in now because the fish produces waste, which will be food for the beneficial bacteria to colonize. This is what's known as a fish in cycle. Now, whenever doing this, you want a very low stocking, and lots of plants helps as well. That said, I'll come in tomorrow morning and I will test the water. If there's any signs of ammonia or nitrite, a water change is what I'll do to basically reset it whilst the beneficial bacteria is colonizing the whole tank. I have now done this hundreds and hundreds of times. It works very well. You just have to be diligent, pay attention to your parameters, and do those water changes if they're needed. Do not forget plants. Plants are amazing. They just sort of help with everything to do with aquariums. So it certainly seems like our Betta is enjoying exploring. Doesn't look stressed at all. He's not hidden once either. I mean, I'm right up to the tank now with the camera. He just doesn't seem fussed. He's right underneath the filter inlet as well. Look, it's not bothering him, so that's perfect. Now, Betta fish, they do like warmer temperatures. So if you've got this in your house, for instance, and you keep your house at a lower temperature, you will need a heater, but I heat the whole room, so this temperature is perfect for this fish. But we are still missing one thing. To me, a planted tank is not a healthy planted tank without snails. Snails just help massively in all planted tanks, I think. If you don't overfeed the tank, the population controls itself. They just consume any waste, they stir up the substrate nicely, get them in. Here we go, look. Nice little collection. And snails are relentless cleaners. They'll self-right and start getting to work straight away. Look, there's already one straight away on that rock, but it's clean. Don't worry though, within a couple of days, there'll start to be some degrading plant matter, stuff that didn't really want to grow, like edges of plants and stuff like that, and they'll have plenty to munch on. So hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial and it's given you some inspiration for nano tanks and Betta fish. Planted nano tanks and Betta fish go hand in hand, and I'm sure the Betta fish is going to love it in this tank.